Good morning. As I listened to the messages that were brought to us by previous speakers for the last few weeks, I noticed that the one thing that each of them mentioned was the impact that their childhood memories still have on them today as they spoke of their gifts of time and talents and treasure. As I look back on my childhood memories, music was a very large part of our family. My mother was a very organized woman who did laundry on Monday, ironed on Tuesday, cleaned the house on Friday, and Saturday was baking day. Cookies, cakes, pies, whatever. But Sunday was her favorite day. Before we left for church, she put a large roast in the oven, surrounded with potatoes and vegetables. My sister and I had the job of setting the table with our best china and silver. We would ask who was coming, and she would just kind of shrug her shoulders and indicate that she'd figure that out later. We would attend Sunday school and then church, and on the way out of church, she would invite either old friends or people who had come to church for the very first time to come for dinner. When we would walk in the house, you could smell roast beef at the door. After dinner, we gathered around the piano and sang hymns. That was the tradition. Even when we went to our friends' homes, that was the same thing. We would have dinner around noon or 1 o'clock, and then afterwards, we would sing hymns. We were taught to be a part of the services as well as to give back to the Lord a portion of the gifts he had given us, and we learned to tithe when we were children. At our Baptist church, the Sunday evening service was similar to our contemporary service here. We often had an informal band or orchestra, and most of the young people in the church played an instrument. I was known to play the cello or the trombone occasionally, and I sang in the adult choir, a girls' trio, an occasional solo, and often went to New York City to sing in the Christian rallies at places like the Yankee Stadium and Madison Square Garden. When I stand here representing the church musicians, I'm overwhelmed at the gifts that each of these musicians give to the church. I remember the first few Sundays that Pete and I attended Trinity. We were welcomed by Wilma and Jack Hagley, Paul and Elva Gilbert, whom we had known from the Caprice unit of the symphony, and they had always spoken so highly of Trinity. The choir and Eileen Houston at the piano made the service come alive for us. When we decided to join the church, we went to a new members class. And as part of that members class that year, there was a small worship service included. At the piano was Diane Stanley. She doesn't even remember. I remember. And after the meeting, we were invited to join the choir by the assistant pastor. That has become a large part of our life these days. It's been many years since we've been singing. And when we speak of loyalty, we learn that in giving of our time and our so-called talents to the choir or the bells, we've received more than we were given. Many members of the choir have been singing for many years. Some of them, such as Sandra Matter, Jan Svensson, Mark Baker, Priscilla Knapp, the Houstons, and others have been in the choir for more than 20 years. Priscilla did a longevity study of the choir 2 years ago, and the total came to over 350 years. And that would be more than that by now. Diane Stanley has led the bell choir for many years and is faithfully teaching bells to interested members this year in a class that meets Sunday at the Sunday school hour. A number of members of the bell choir have played bells for years too, and some also sing in the choir. This fall, Amy Giles started a children's choir with Diane at the piano. The enthusiasm of the children is great to see. The children's services several weeks ago under the guidance of Carolyn Like and Reverend Aspey was something the children will never forget, and will for many of them the beginning of their service in the church. Besides the musical gifts by the choir and the bell choir, Jan Linker, and other musicians, the choir supports the mission of the church with their gifts. And now I'm pleased to recognize a group of people who give generously of their time and talents to Trinity. There are approximately 74 people involved in the adult music ministry at Trinity. Would those here today who are involved in Trinity's music program please stand? Thank you. You may be seated. Reverend Brooks, it is my pleasure to present to you the financial pledges to Trinity for 2010 that have been received for early presentation today from those involved in Trinity's